So the machine that we're going to be using today to make the buttonhole is the Embroidery Sewing Machine SE 400 Enthusiast. When you first turn the machine on, it automatically goes to your basic lock stitch, which would be stitch setting number 1. As you can see here, there are several different stitch types that you can make, but between what does that say, 58 to 67, these are focusing on the type of buttonholes. So the one that we're going to be using today is 51, and this is touchscreen. So once you select it, it automatically gives you your stitch lengths and stitch types. Now that you have your buttonhole selected, you are ready to remove your original presser foot. Turn your machine to the side. There's a little black tab that's in the back of the presser foot holder. Once you press it, there's going to be a hook that releases the bar in between the presser foot. That allows it to fall off and it detaches. The same way we took it off is the same way that we're going to put it on. But when we put it on, we'll be using the presser foot latch to push down the presser foot and actually hook it. So again, go ahead and grab your buttonhole maker. Make sure that your size for your buttonhole is already set. Be careful so that you don't shift it out of place. Realign that metal bar to where that hook is, and then from there you're going to use that presser foot latch, press it down, and it'll hook it up, and you are ready, well, almost ready to start sewing your buttonhole. Here is a side view along with a front view, just in case you missed it, just so that you have a better understanding of what's happening. I know visual is everything, so definitely take a look. And if you have any questions, just jot them down below. I will be more than happy to help. Now that we have that buttonhole maker gadget foot, I don't even know what it's called, but now that we have it attached to the machine, the next thing we're gonna do is prepare that machine so that it can go around the corner. Always remember to pull that little latch. There's a little latch underneath your machine that allows the sewing machine to go around the perimeter. Remember the two little tabs on the buttonhole maker we were using to measure the button? Well, this tab is going to help the machine to go around the perimeter of the buttonhole. So make sure that that latch is fitting in between those two tabs. The very last thing I like to do before we actually get started is make sure that my needle thread is going through the hole that is in for the buttonhole maker and is going underneath the actual foot. Just like any presser foot, you slide the thread so that it goes underneath it. I went ahead and I grabbed my fabric. I'm just using literally like a size of a sheet, 8.5 by 11. I have a ton of them cut out for my sample book. So once you have your sheet or wherever you plan to put your buttonhole, by the way, always make sure you test it out first. Go ahead and mark your placement. You can use a chalk or you can use your tracing wheel along with some carbon paper. Whatever you need to do to mark where your buttonhole needs to be, go ahead and mark it. Now, make sure that you are almost as if you're making like a H. You mark the top portion and the bottom portion. Now these lines we're gonna align with the markings that are on the presser foot. When we are ready and everything is perfectly aligned, we simply press down on the foot pedal like we normally would do, and it will sew on its own. Now don't press the foot pedal too hard. Allow it to take its time for it to sew. So if you normally sew super fast on a high speed, sew the buttonhole on like a medium to slow speed. That way it takes its time and it does it properly. because the faster you go, what I've noticed is the faster you go, it allows it to have a greater margin of error. So your ending tabs, sometimes they don't touch if you go too fast, and you end up with an open buttonhole. So take your time for this part. And that is it. So now that you've created the sample buttonhole, go ahead and use your seam ripper, or you can use your snippers, your scissors, whatever you need to use in order to get that hole to open. Just be very careful though, because if you cut those stitches, honey, you're just gonna have a hole. And that buttonhole will not be secure. You'll have to use like needle and thread to lock that opening back again. So be very, very, very careful when you are cutting open the hole. Always make sure to line up your buttonhole with your button so that it stays centered, and make sure to knot your make sure to knot your thread once you are done so that it doesn't unravel. But this wraps it up for today. I just want to thank you guys for coming back and watching. I hope you are learning. If you have any questions at all, do drop it down below, and I will see you next time. Thank you again. I don't fit into your box, beauty queens without no flaws. You can do better, I dare you to be wilder. I don't fit into your box.